In this video, I will show how to set up and image a shelled specimen that's of a fairly small size. And here we have a specimen that's about 3 centimeters in length. So I have it set up. And often with shelled specimens, because they're typically not attached to anything, they'll just rest on the base whichever way you make it. So here for a dorsal shot, the shell rests pretty much the way I would want it, but if you wanted to do, say, a ventral shot, it won't remain upright, which impacts the information you can gain from a ventral image. So to set up the specimen the way I want, I use a small piece of clear wax, press it on the base of the cam lift, and then press the shell onto the wax, and then you can position it any which way you want. And so now we can get a much better ventral image of the specimen. Lighting, for lighting, I'm using overhead studio lights pointed a bit upwards and outwards. Shells, typically, lighting isn't too tricky unless they are pretty reflective, then you may need to adjust. But typically, lighting for shells shouldn't be too much of an intensive process. So now I'm going to image the specimen as I would normally, and then edit it in Photoshop.
So here I've gone through the typical steps of imaging any specimen, and so here's the final product of the small shell specimen ventral shot, and I've already stacked all the images. It's the same process as you would imaging any other specimen. So here, what we really want to do is change the background of this image, because you can see it's not completely black and it's kind of gravelly, and for invertebrate and for shelled specimens, typically the background is completely black and uniform. So to change the background without changing the specimen itself, we need to select the background. We need to select just the background. So to do so, select the Quick Selection tool on the side toolbar, and then click anywhere on the background, and then hold down with your mouse, and then drag the mouse around the specimen. And I typically keep to the outside. I'm staying away from the specimen itself, because if you get too close, you will overlap with the specimen, and that's the opposite of what we want. Select, deselect if you need to start over. So click, drag down with your mouse, and just bring around the specimen until the entire background is selected. And this selection tool does a really good job of selecting or going around the specimen and not overlapping. So now we can go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And I just bring up the left triangle, which brings up the darkness of the lighting contrast, or brings up the darkness for lighting composition. And so now, right here, I have it pretty much uniformly black. If you have it a little further, you can see it's still a bit gravelly, so bring it up until it's pretty much uniform, and then click OK. And now we have a completely black background. So now I can crop it. Oops. Make sure that's not selected. Select, and then drag around, and then you can crop. And now you have an image of a small shelled specimen. And now you have an adequate image of a shelled specimen with a desirable background.